Hi, it's Phil here from Spokes Education. Today I'm just going to do a short video on finding a job for those of you that are currently struggling. So this video is aimed at a few different types of people. There'll be some similarities across the board. There'll be some specific things for each individual subset, but I'm talking to the people here that are looking for a job and are perhaps struggling to find a job. And they fall into a few different categories, which are people who are new to the market. So if you're coming straight out of education and you're now looking to land yourself a job in the career of your choice. I'm talking to the people who are looking to transition careers as well. So those, particularly in my network, there's a lot of teachers who are looking to transition out of teaching into other careers, particularly in digital learning. And I'm also talking to those people who perhaps struggle with the interview process, whether that's through some kind of additional need or through some kind of anxiety or fear type situation. And I think so there's lots of similarities, but there are also some specific things I'll talk about across the board as well. So I've seen a lot of people who are saying I've applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs and I'm not being successul. They might get a couple of interviews and not get any further than that, and just not hearing back from a lot of the jobs that they're applying for. So my first tip for you is to stop applying for jobs. If you're applying for 20, 30 jobs a week, you're doing it wrong. There's two main types of employment kind of processes that people go through. The first one is people will do a skills-based approach, and what they'll look for is the kind of skills and experience of an individual. Now, the reason I'm talking to largely this subset of people, falling into the categories of coming out of education and transitioning, is because you're probably going to be at a disadvantage to a lot of people in those areas where it's a skills or experience-based approach, because you don't have necessarily those skills and experience yet compared to the other candidates. The other approach that people take, which is an approach that we take, is an attitude-first approach. And what we do as an organisation, so we're at about, I think we're 16 staff now. And what we do and what we've found is that actually over half of our team, probably more like 2/3 of our team, have come in on an attitude-first basis. And what that means is they've come into a role into our company with transferable skills, but minimal skills and experience in the specific areas that we work in. So what that means is we've been taking people on and trying to get them skilled up to a level based on the fact that we believe they can do it given enough time and support. And if you're coming out of education or if you're transitioning, these are the kind of jobs and the kind of organisations you want to look for. And therefore, when you are searching for jobs and looking for jobs, you want to specifically target those kind of roles and those kind of organisations, rather than just blanket everyone. So how do you do that? First thing you can do is obviously do a bit of research into if you're looking to get into a specific sector, if you know there's kind of organisations you want to work for, do a bit of research into them, see if they're the kind of organisation that perhaps will take a chance on somebody, that will do like an attitudes first approach. If you might not be able to find that information out, but you can have a look and get a sense of it. Look at their socials, look at their the type of people they've taken on, look at the kind of LinkedIn and see who work for them, look at the kind of roles they have, whether they have kind of junior roles, whether they have kind of trainee and internship type roles. Normally a good indication that they are willing to take people on and help them to develop. The other thing you want to do is take a look at the job description, and within that job description you'll see some key things. So we're pretty overt and pretty explicit that we're happy to take people on, generally speaking, on an attitude first basis. We put it, we recruit first on an attitude first basis. You don't necessarily need to have the experience and skills. We will train, but that might not be the case for everyone. And you can look for those kind of other indicators in that to sort of say things like full training will be given. You can look at, again, key phraseology will be in there, which will be, again, focused around attitudinal skills that you want to demonstrate, rather than the actual hard skills. So again, there'll be subtle differences potentially, but there may be some explicit differences. But look for those differences and look for those job descriptions that are focusing on the attitudinal things rather than the skills-based things. And again, they're the ones you want to target. Now, what you want to do at that point, when you think you've found a job, and again, instead of sending off 20, 30, focus on just 3, 4, 5, maybe maximum a week, and put your energies into those focused and targeted jobs, rather than putting your energy into spending, searching and shooting off CVs left, right, and centre. Focus on 3 to 5 jobs where you think, okay, I've got a lot to offer here. I could do this role, and if I give my best, I'll give myself, there's a chance I could get this role. And what you want to then do is put that time and energy into your application for a small amount of jobs. We always recommend, and again, this is a thing that we do, and again, I think it's probably a thing that a large amount of organisations do where they're looking for those attitudinal skills, is to focus on your covering letter. So your CV, if you put that CV in and compare it to other people within, who are perhaps going for that role, if you think, okay, it's not going to be stronger than, there's probably people here that've got more experience. It's not necessarily what an organisation like us is looking for. And that person that's more experienced might not have the attitudinal skills that we're looking for. So you've got to make yourself stand out in a slightly different way. And that is largely done through your covering letter and through the approach that you take to applying. Little tips for you in terms of what you can do, and the things that I like that people do when they're applying for a job. They contact us and they ask us for more information. They want to find out about the job. They're interested. And you might think, oh, I don't want to be a pest. It's fine. Call them if they're not receptive to it, or if they're rude or dismissive. It's probably you don't want to work for them anyway, right? So it's actually good for you to find that out and see and establish that is a kind of company I want to go and work for. And like I said, that shows to me that actually you're serious about this. You're interested. You want to find out more. You need to demonstrate a few other things in a covering letter. For me, biggest thing is positivity, enthusiasm. If you are positive and enthusiastic about a role, about your potential, about the company, about the work that you could do, that to me is a huge tick. If I don't see that, if I see kind of negative phrases, if I see kind of any kind of, downbeatness, I guess, in that kind of covering letter or in your application in somewhere, or even in a conversation on the phone, again, it's going to be a little bit of a red flag to me. So show that positivity, enthusiasm, really go in with a really kind of positive attitude. The second thing I want to see is a growth mindset. So I want to know that people, if they're coming in at an entry level or coming in to a new role, that they are willing to learn and they want to learn. And again, you can demonstrate that in a number of different ways, just through explaining that in a written form, by going out and doing the things and trying to build your skills in your own time. So, if you're, for example, a graphic designer and you're saying, oh, I've applied for 400 jobs and I can't find a job, what are you doing about that? Are you skilling up? Are you doing things in your own time? Are you taking additional courses? What are you doing to give yourself that chance? And if you're not doing anything, then again, I'm questioning, do you really have that motivation and growth mindset? Again, probably a red flag for me if I'm not seeing any evidence of that. So they're the kind of things that we're looking for. And again, a lot of other organisations will be looking for. And the last thing is to be realistic as well. So if you're coming in as into a job with no experience, or if you're going into a role with transferable skills but no direct applicable skills, then be realistic in your terms as well. We've had it where people have come in. We've taken on a lot of transitioning teachers. So we've got 4 at the moment, and if we've got a learning design role, now we know as a teacher you've got transferable skills, and all we want to do is see how you apply that, and we'll do that in the assessment. But if we've got a pay range, so if you're, let's say for example, a pay range of, let's take a wide pay range of say £30,000 to £40,000. If you are in your current role on £40,000, don't go in and ask for £40,000 into a role where you do not have that same level of experience. because there'll be people out there who'd be willing to come in at the lower level. And again, if I've got two candidates who are the same, someone expecting £40,000 to be at that top level when they don't have any experience in it, and someone coming in at 30,000 saying, look, I'm willing to start at the lower end, knowing, and again, I will give that reassurance to say there will be opportunity for you to quickly get to that stage if you can demonstrate that. Again, people going, I can do that. I've got confidence that I can demonstrate my value and quickly get back up to where I want to be. Some people you might say, I can't afford to do that, particularly in these times. Unfortunately, that's the reality of transitioning into a new role, or going into a new role where you're trying to give yourself an edge through those kind of attitudinal approach. So again, have faith in yourself to kind of go, and make sure that opportunity for growth and pay increase is there. Make sure that is there, so you're not getting stuck into a job which you're not happy with that level of salary. But be realistic as well. So I think that's it for today. Like I said, we're taking on a lot of roles at the moment. So I'm hoping if you're watching this, then and you're applying for a job with us, you're doing well. You've already done more than what 50% of the candidates are doing. We get a lot of applications. Most of those people, they haven't done the fundamentals of what we asked for on the job spec. They haven't sent a covering letter. They haven't told us the things that we've asked for. If you're watching this video, it's because you're looking into us, which is great. You're looking into who we are, what we do. You're researching and finding out about that, and now you can apply this and hopefully what I've told you, and go and have a look at other things on our website, go through our socials and pick up those other bits and kind of go, I'm going to fit in here because of this, this and this, and this is what I can bring to your organisation. Even sort of you can kind of pull up and say, I can see that you do this well, but you might be able to do this a little bit better, and I know that I can help you with that. So go and do that research, but put your time into that smaller subset of organisations, particularly the ones that are looking at that kind of attitude first, and you give yourself the best chance. Finally, I'm just going to talk specifically to those of you who struggle with the interview process. So it may be that you are autistic, it may be that you have anxiety and fear, and it may be that you're not good with eye contact, it may be that you stutter words and you really, really struggle with interviews. What I would say to you is that if you're struggling with that interview process and you'll find that you're getting interviews but you're not getting beyond an interview, be honest upfront with the organisation you're talking to. So whether that's in your covering letter or whether that's prior to an interview, just explain your situation and say, just so I have, I'm a little bit nervous. You can say, I struggle with eye contact. You can say, I have this particular, or any kind of special educational need or any kind of physical need, whatever that is, be open and honest about it. And you'll find, again, the right organisation for you. If they're not doing that, if they're not helping you out and they kind of dismiss you, again, you don't want to work for them, because if they dismiss you at that stage, you're going to get dismissed throughout. But the right kind of organisation will make those provisions for you and make that interview process much more comfortable. We try to do everything we can, and we're improving our interview process all the time. So, for example, we've recently introduced where when we do an interview, people could come in half an hour early and just review the questions, just to give themselves a bit of time. We're going to do, for this new role we're just doing, we're going to do a similar thing for the assessment, give them a bit of time to get their head around the assessment before giving them a timed assessment. So organisations that are happy to kind of take that approach will give you provision and they will help you out. And if they're not, you probably don't want to work for them anyway. If you've got any specific questions, if you have anything you want to know, even if you want me to cast my eye over your application in advance of you sending it off to an organisation, I'm always happy to do it. If you want any other tips or advice, feel free to get in touch. I'm always happy to talk to people. It's a passion of mine, helping people, good people. I know there's lots of you out there that are struggling to find the right opportunity, but you have so much to offer. So I want to help you. So if there's anything I could do, please get in contact. I might do some more videos on similar topics, so like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, good luck on your job search. Until next time, see you again. Bye-bye.